Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Cruise Amigos live from London. I'm Chillie Falls over here in the U.S. in Virginia. And next to me right now, up there in Crookston, Minnesota, is John Reitmeyer. And down on the bottom, it got flipped around. The guy that's doing the flipping and shaking his head there, that's Pete Hall. And our guest today, who's now back up top next to me because Pete's going nuts over there. That's Nate Vallier. He's the owner-operator of Yukon and Alaska Tours up there in Anchorage, Alaska, or someplace in Alaska.
Yeah.
But he's coming to us today from SeaWorld in Florida. So, Nate, welcome back to the Cruise Amigos.
Thanks.
That's good timing, isn't it?
Did you freeze up? Oh no, there you froze up for a second, Nate.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay, go ahead and see if you can get it fixed. Hi, lady.
Yeah.
Hi, lady's with us from up in Alaska.
Yeah, a fellow Alaskan is with us.
All right, think you got it now, Nate?
Working on it.
Yeah, it seems like you froze up again. We've had some technical issues, folks. With Nate, we've running Nate all over the place trying to find a good place. Now we're going to watch John comb his hair. That makes for interesting television, John.
What do you know?
He's combing his hair in slow motion.
Well, you got to do it backwards. It's back. It's
there
not.
We go.
It's not.
There we go.
Image.
There we go. Now, all right. Now, there we go. Okay. Welcome aboard, Nate.
Thanks.
Question right off the bat for you. You know, the cruise lines and CLIA have given the CDC their recommendations for getting cruises starting again. And it's going to be very similar to MSC's protocols and Costa's protocols that are being used over in Europe.
Right.
One of the controversial aspects of the whole safety of the cruises today is with excursions, where they are controlling the folks leaving the ships and where they go. There's no getting off the port and walking around. It's got to be on regular excursion of the cruise lines that they have vetted.
Right.
What's that going to do to Alaska, where one of the strengths is getting off the boat and just enjoying yourself up there?
Well, it's going to limit not only choice and supply, but also quality. You're going to have fewer businesses that are able to actually get in the door and actually provide the services. Like in Juneau, you've got 3 operators that control some of the pretty larger ships and excursions. And it's just going to make life a lot more challenging. And I think it's going to be a big turnoff because if I read the rules correctly, if you don't have a shore excursion booked by the time you get to port, you're stuck on the ship.
Yeah.
And that's going to really discourage a lot of people because even like myself, when I cruise, I don't know what I feel like till that morning. It depends on the weather. That has a big deterrent on, whether I'm going to go fishing or if I want to go scuba diving or like a nature walk. So I think that that's going to really hurt business more than help. I understand the rationale that they're trying. Right now, they're grasping at anything just to get approvals. So I think that we will see that morph and change to the point that it's going to be more of a certified tour you have to be on, not necessarily sold by the ship. But I think that it's going to shut out a lot of business if this does happen.
Yeah. My favorite thing in any port I go to is I just like to get off the boat and go find some locals and a local bar, a local restaurant, have a little lunch, have a cocktail or two. That's my enjoyment as opposed to going on a quote unquote excursions.
Yeah, I think it's Nevis that has the bar with like 54 types of rum. Yeah. And that's there's no way that's on a tour.
47 is his record.
47? Wow. That's a lot of rum.
Yeah.
You'll definitely be crawling back to the ship. Yeah, I think that right now what's happening, and that's why I talk about Orlando today, is, everyone's watching what they're doing here in Florida. Because right now there's no guidance. People, despite what your beliefs are with COVID, it's an evolving issue, where we hear one thing, then we hear another, and there's nothing really solid. So I think that, as time progresses, we'll have a lot better understanding of how this virus functions, and then we can, apply safety standard based on that. So hopefully, we get our act together. But first thing we need to do is get people back on the ships. As asinine as that sounds, you never, until we start doing it, we don't know. And until Royal Caribbean does their test bookings, which I think they're trying to do in December, then they'll have a better idea of, hey, is this really dangerous? Or, on a prime example, here I am at SeaWorld and Disney, and, this place is supposed to be a hotbed of COVID, and it's not. So I think that until we actually get people on the ships and try, we're not going to know.
Okay. Hi, Nate. I want to say hello from London.
Cheers.
Now, Nate, the last time we spoke, you were in, obviously, Alaska, live in Alaska, right. And it was exciting times for you because you had just set up Alaska and Yukon tours, correct? Right. Yeah. A big tour company, obviously local, doing the tours in Alaska. I want to know an update, because obviously you've been hugely affected because obviously you've not been able to do anything. I mean, what has happened with your company? Are you able to still carry on for next year, or do you have to do different things?
Yeah, we're getting next year put together, and a lot of it's going to depend on what the CDC and the cruise ships do. Because right now it's not looking very bright for us, to be honest. I mean, you've got to have all this put in place, 6 months out. So 6 months from January, if that's when we start to sail, puts us right in June, which is right about peak season for Alaska. So I think that a lot is up in the air. From the independent traveler, I think that there is going to be a lot more business for us, but a lot of those people are waiting to see what happens with the cruise ships. Really that's going to be the key optic for us. But for the independent traveler, they're open. A lot of the venues have already closed in Juneau. We were expecting this to open until about October 5th or 6th. A lot of them closed early. The last Tracy Arm trip was on September 13th. And Tracy's Crab Shack closed early. Yeah, and it's a perfect example. I mean, that was our summer, except for the rain. A lot of businesses aren't going to make it through the winter. Tracy Arm, perfect example. We were the only boat out there, on that day that we went, and there should have been a bunch of private boats. Allen Marine should have been out there. Adventure Bound, which is who we used, they have 3 boats. They only used 1 all summer. Wow. Places like Homer in the interior fared a lot better because the interior does a better job of the independents. There's more options. So Homer, Alaska, while it was also empty, they were only down like 40%, whereas Southeast Alaska was down, 90 to 100. Puna, which is home of Icy Street Point and Skagway, had almost no tourism at all this year.
Yeah. The next photo I'm going to show is especially for Lady, yeah? Because Lady's watching, and I know Lady's prepared if you see this, aren't you, Lady?
Yeah, the bears. Well, the bears showed up. The bears, the wildlife stayed. And so that's down at, I think, Auk Bay, which is where a lot of the kayaks and the kayak operators launch out of. Yeah, no, the bears showed up. Yeah. Had a couple of annoyances this summer. We had one tear up a guy's car who is a pizza driver and just completely destroyed the vehicle, nothing left of it.
Pepperoni, man. Pepperoni. It's an Italian bear.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Bears love food. And so especially when they smell it, they want it. So that's why I warn everyone, lock your car. If you have food, throw it away. But yeah, it'll definitely destroy, they will get in your car. They'll figure out a way to get in there.
They won't get in Lady's car because Lady has her bear spray, don't you, Lady?
Oh, no, we use air horns. Bear spray is all right, but you need a big noise or something to scare them. So firecrackers work and bear spray.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this summer was really hard in Juneau. Like I said, with my company, we do manage travel for airlines specifically. So I mean, we did okay, but we lost essentially 1.5 million visitors, and it was a $2.8 billion impact in Southeast. That's a lot of money. And most people use that to help get them through the winter. And now it's just, there's going to be a lot of Xanax needed in Alaska this winter. That's for sure.
Sorry, Chili, with yourself there, just going back on what we said very quickly before Chili back in again. The fact that excursions, if ships are not allowing people to walk off and organise excursions with local operators, unless you have a contract with that cruise ship, it's not going to help you at all, is it?
No. And like I said, what we do is, we help people who need to piece things together and want to do more than just the one option on the ship. So folks like me, specifically mentioned Juneau Tours, they'll be directly affected, even though they have, contracts with the cruise ships. A lot of the whale watching groups in Juneau, and especially fishing. Fishing is going to be really affected this year because those guys don't want to pay the cruise ships their commission, and also have the liability insurance that's required, to work with a Princess or a Norwegian. It's very expensive.
So, Chili.
With the gold panning excursions where you go up there and pan for gold, just think there's going to be all kinds of extra gold now for when we get back up there because nobody's been panning it.
I've lived in Juneau for 11 years. I don't know anyone who's actually found gold in that creek. But hey, if you want to go and spend $50, go do it.
That sounds like the Loch Ness monster thing as well going on there.
Do they salt
about that?
Do they salt it just a little bit? I mean, do they?
I don't know. I mean, it's over at
so.
Salmon Creek by the hospital, and I don't know.
I mean, somebody's got to come up with a nugget once in a while.
It could be like what you see in Gatlinburg and Branson. Maybe they come out and dust it every now and then. Who knows?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. So you just gotta put a little back in. It's an investment. You gotta reinvest it. So.
Yeah, but I mean, if Pete can show the last picture of that group, I mean, Juneau, we had it pretty bad this year in Alaska. We had a very rainy summer.
This one.
Yeah, that shows the number of rainy days we had versus sunny days.
Oh my goodness!
And it's pretty bad. Everyone definitely would have been wet. They would have been grumpy. But that's why I come to Florida a lot. I lived here in 2000, and I keep coming back because I had to leave. And that's why I talk about today, what it's like to travel, because I did feel SAD, which is depression. I did feel that coming on, and I had to get away, and I feel bad because a lot of my fellow Alaskans don't have the ability as easily as I do to come down here and either stay with friends or see people. But SAD is a very, very big challenge for Alaska, especially with what's happened lately with the lockdowns and the health issues, because people need to be normal. They need sunlight. And when it's raining all the time, you're not getting it, and if you don't have money to go out and go fishing or go hiking, or, because you are locked down, you can't get out there. So that it's a health issue as well. But yeah, I think, the cruise traffic, as much as we needed them in Juneau, you guys weren't missing it. I mean, it was a miserable, rainy, wet summer.
Wow.
All right. So you have now traveled back and forth several times.
I have.
Tell us about travel today, because most of us haven't been able to do that.
Yeah. Well, good for Alaska is, we put together a very amazing COVID plan, which is you can get tested 3 days before arrival, show results, and you can actually come and visit. And same thing for us as residents when we come back. We have to get tested a couple of days before. The quarantine's been pretty easy. We have 14 days like everyone else. But for the most part, it's been pretty easy. I submitted a bunch of pictures to Pete. I don't know what we have, in the pipeline.
Okay.
In terms of traveling, but Alaska Air.
I'll go through the pictures, and we can maybe talk about them as I go through.
Yeah. Well, the good news is everyone's following Alaska's steps. They really thought this out. Hawaii is now picking up something similar, where they're opening up on the 15th, and it's the same policy as Alaska. You need to be tested 3 days before. If not, you have to be quarantined to get your results. But we got to do stuff smarter. You know, we talk about uncruise, which is a current picture. And that was a false positive. You know, that poor cruise line was virtually going nowhere. And a lot of people went straight from the airport to the cruise ship instead of waiting in a hotel for a day or two just to make sure. So I think that, you know, again, back to watching Florida and Alaska, you know, we got to learn how to handle this. But in terms of the airlines, it's been pretty safe, you know. Like here in Florida, the accusation was with all these parks opening, it was going to spread like cancer. You know, that was a headline you just saw. We're going to get everyone sick. They're going to get killed. And, you know, especially the cruise lines have been watching it. But if you look at the next one, you know, nothing. You know, the governor's already said if these parks become a bubble, we're going to shut them down. And so far that hasn't been the case. And so I'll show everyone pictures of what to expect, because what's happening is, again, the cruise lines are closely watching SeaWorld and Disney, because right now there are no, you know, there are no standards. The bubble boy is essentially what everyone has to feel like, you know, when you travel. You know, stay away from everyone, stay masked, wash your hands quite a bit. But so far travel's been mostly easy. It's just as long as everyone works together. In the airports, you're going to see this. A lot of the seats are blocked off. What they didn't do is do the backside. So you're not quite distancing correctly. The gate areas are getting pretty packed and full, as are the lounges. This is the lounge in Seattle that was open. Of course, Vancouver, they were closed. So they are doing a lot more distancing in the airports, which means fewer seats, fewer places to sit, long lines at the restaurants. Same thing in the jet bridges. They're not boarding in mass anymore. They're only doing it, you know, 5 to 10 people at a time. Same thing with the planing. You know, they want you to stay seated till you get off. A lot of airlines are blocking seats. Alaska and Delta are two that are sticking to it. So like in Alaska Airlines, they block the seat next to you if they're in first class, and in economy, they block the middle seat, and they keep it that way. You're not getting much food or drink on the airline. So this is on Air Canada. All I got for nearly a 3-hour flight was water. Now they're giving you a COVID kit. If you want to stop here for a second, this is very smart. I do give Air Canada props for this. You know, you get this when you board the airplane. It's a bag with, there's hand sanitizer, there's gloves, a mask, and of course water. You know, and I think that we're going to see these even on the ships. You know, I think you're going to have little COVID care kits for people. But on some airlines, that's all you get. You know, you're not getting food anymore. You're not getting alcohol, which sucks. You know, people need that.
That was your food. That was your food you had.
Yeah, that was for a 6-hour flight. That's all we got in first class. I'm not trying to show it off and be bougie. I'm just saying this is how big the change is. You know, this is no longer a hot meal with salad and dessert. You're literally just getting a fruit plate for 6 hours, and that's it.
Do you think they're taking advantage of that? Because why are they only giving you a fruit plate? I mean, it's in first class, I don't get that at all.
Well, of course, it's all blamed on COVID. No matter what, it's also an expense issue. Like even here at SeaWorld, you know, this is the busiest I've seen this park in months. But the fact of the matter is people aren't spending like they used to. You know, my airfare back and forth between Florida and Alaska has been ridiculous. Alaska Airlines has been doing 40% off when Russell Wilson, you know, for every touchdown, they give 10% off. You know, they're hurting. So they're looking for an excuse not only to trim costs, but how to operate in this environment. And I think the cruise ships are going to be the same way. You know, the cruise ships aren't going to be able to put, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 people on a boat anymore. And so we're going to have to brace ourselves for changes when we vacation. And I think the airlines are just kind of leading the pack. So yeah, for a 6-hour flight, the fact you're getting nothing should be a wake-up call. Hotels have been hit or miss. This is at one of the Marriott properties. They're not putting up plexiglass at check-in. They're not touching you or anything anymore, so no more IDs. Credit cards are now all through a touch screen. Breakfast, it depends. Like at this hotel, I was able to grab my own, but a lot of hotels, you're just getting a little bag with like a bagel and maybe a bottle of water in it. So no more buffets. No more free breakfast, no more hot breakfast, even at like some of the smaller chains. Some hotels are doing this, others aren't, but like in this one, there was a sign that limited it to 1 party per elevator, and they have you stand on the distance markers. Again, it's hit or miss on the hotels. You got to be smart about it. Hilton actually will put the sticker on the door so that you know it's clean. I don't care, frankly. I think it's more for show. But I think that they're definitely cleaning these rooms a little bit better. You are not getting daily towel service. They're not changing your sheets every day. They're not replenishing your amenities. So like some properties, you just get this kit. It's once a week. If you need towels, you have to ask. I do think after 7 days, they'll come in and change your sheets for you, but you can't be in the room. So, I mean, the whole business is changing, you know, airlines, hotels, and cruise lines. This is interesting. So one of the resorts, they actually had markers on the ground for every piece of equipment and asked you not to move it. And they had someone come by every hour and disinfect everything.
Wow.
I think this is important because I think, you know, the days of going and snagging a lounge chair on the cruise lines are over. You know, it's hard enough finding one Oasis. Oh my, I mean, I can't imagine what it's going to be like moving forward. You know, and even look at this pool area. You know, again, this is here in Orlando. And again, I highlight Orlando because right now no one else is open like Orlando. So they're watching it to figure out what standards are we going to take. You know, now imagine if this were on a cruise ship, you know, where they limit you to 10 people in the pool at once or, you know, 20 on the sun deck. So I really think that moving forward, we're going to have a much different vacation experience. And it's just not going to be as fulfilling, you know, and it's also going to be a lot more expensive. I'm just kind of showing people, this is the wait times at Disney right now. You know, there's word going around how empty it is. It's not necessarily empty, but the fact that, you know, you are going to be waiting. You know, it's not like last month where it was a 5-minute wait for everything. So, you know, Disney, the lines are picking up again. People are getting more agitated because they have to wait outside. You know, before you could just walk right through. Also at Disney, they have a reservation system. So anytime you want to do anything, you have to make a booking. And if it's not there, you can't do it. I think we're going to see the same thing with both shore excursions and on a cruise ship where, you know, I think a couple of the cruise lines, you could go in and book like your shows and all that in advance. I think it's going to be required moving forward. Some of these are the signs before you enter the park. You have to abide by all these rules and regulations. You have to have a mask. They'll take your temperature. This is at SeaWorld. They do this better than Disney. And, you know, again, I'm not getting paid by SeaWorld, but they do COVID a lot better than Disney. Disney doesn't have as many signs. They're not bilingual, whereas SeaWorld it is. SeaWorld, it's both in English and Spanish. If you don't have a mask, they'll sell you one, and of course they will. So I'm assuming if we ever want a Norwegian mask or Royal Caribbean or Princess, we'll be able to buy one for $20. They will find a way to profit off of it.
Emily's asked, is it true inside the parks no one can wear neck gaiters? I have heard that from other YouTube vloggers.
That is correct. Yeah, they will stop you when you come in the park. They won't let you in. So if you don't have a mask, so me, because I'm drinking, you know, I'm able to keep my mask off. But I have, you know, my mask with me and a bunch of extras in case it rains. You know, if you get on a ride and it gets wet, they make you go buy a new one. So this is at the entrance to Disney. So they come in and they take your temperature. There's actually going to be someone there with a gun or a temperature gun that takes your temperature. If you don't have a mask on, they will not let you in. They'll point you to a vending machine and make you buy one. So I can definitely see this in Nassau, you know, in some of these ports where, you know, just to even get in a port, we're going to have to get a temperature taken. This is at Disney Springs. They redid the entry. So this is even for shopping. You know, they make you line up and do your temperature before you even get in, you know, the shopping plaza. And I think the next pick is going to be SeaWorld. I think SeaWorld, if you look where the arrow is, they do a thermal reading. So they actually let you keep on walking. And I think this is what we're going to see on the cruise ships. Yeah. And again, back to SeaWorld being better than Disney, I think that they thought this through a lot more than Disney did. But this is what I do think we will see when we get on the ships, is they'll have someone just like that set up. And you walk through and they'll scan your temperature and stop you. This is kind of neat. I like these. These are portable hand washing stations. I'm not a fan of throwing vodka on my hands every 5 minutes or hand sanitizer or whatever you want to call it. But there's a pump at the bottom that you use your foot. You'll pump it up a little bit and then water will come out the top. You've got soap and hand washing station. I think we'll see a lot more of these around. I think there's a lot more effective than the portable sanitizing stations, and also doesn't stink. Something that Disney's doing is they're monitoring how many people go in and out of each store. Again, I think this is something that cruise lines will adopt. So that lady is standing outside managing a queue, and she has a handheld with her. And as people enter the store, she toggles them. And then as someone leaves the store on the other end, someone will have the same machine and toggle if they leave. So you're going to have to wait to get in and out of every store. What used to be an entrance is now an exit. So if you notice the arrows where it says exit only, again, they just, think about this in a cruise ship and think about the ports. I mean, this is really going to change how we function. Even inside the shop, I mean, they've had to space everything out so you're not on top of everyone. It's just not the same. This is a restaurant outside of Disney. What's really annoying is when they do get busy, there's nowhere to sit. And a lot of the tables, either they took chairs away or they have, a sign on the table telling you not to use it. Again, think back to a cruise ship. This is going to be, it's going to change how we cruise and how we vacation. And this is a view of the crowded Epcot. As you can see, really busy. I had some people in Juneau message me saying, "Don't come back to Juneau. You're going to get us all sick." So I posted this picture on that Facebook group and said, "Who's going to get me sick?" There's just not a lot of people. This was this week at Hollywood Studios. As you can see, the crowds are getting bigger. The governor of Florida did just take away the capacity requirements, but Disney and their PR department, I think they're going to keep the capacity limits because they don't want to mess this up. Because if there happens to be people who get sick here, it will not end well, and it's not going to bode well for any of us. This is at one of the water parks. This is at Aquatica. And interesting fact about this picture, the park has a capacity of 7,000 people. And the day we were there was only 300. And wow. It's not that they're hurting, but it goes back to that fear that people think that, you can't vacation, you can't go have fun. Well, no, there's these businesses are taking steps to have a safe environment. This is one of the splash pools at Aquatica. Again, there's not people on top of each other. This isn't CNN showing Daytona Beach where, you got a bunch of drunk college kids, stacking up the beach. And I think that's part of the problem is the fear. The news is not portraying the truth. So I do appreciate, today having the venue. Now this one's interesting. This is on the ferry boat at the Magic Kingdom. Now, apparently the Coast Guard doesn't feel you can sit and be socially distanced. So now imagine you're on a tender. I think this is going to present a lot of problems to the cruise industry. On this ferry boat, you have to stand on those dots. You cannot sit anywhere. And I don't know why, but I was told it's a Coast Guard rule. So, heaven forbid you have to tender, a Cocoa Key or a Great Stirrup, on one of these private islands. You're going to be waiting a while to get off that boat.
So there's no seats on there at all? There's no seats on there at all? You're
not allowed to sit. That's what those stickers are for. So what is not available.
Yeah, so what if people struggle to stand up and they need to sit down?
Like
they
me.
Can't.
And me.
They said they sit down on the ground, I guess.
But then how do you get up from the ground?
No,
that's not a joke.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying cane, I guess. No, yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. And I think that's where everything is still kind of in development. I did see a lot of people sitting. And if I go back to that last picture, that was at the monorail. I saw people doing the same thing. They were sitting on your little square or marker so that there really is nowhere to sit, at least at Disney. SeaWorld, different story. SeaWorld, my God. I mean, even behind me, there's, places everywhere. But I do want to highlight this. Yeah. Now, this is also at SeaWorld. They have distance markers for you to stand if you want to watch the fireworks. That's something that SeaWorld has done that Disney hasn't, is they haven't done the fireworks anymore. And for me, I liked it because it felt normal, and that's something I think we're all desperate for is, when I came here the first time this summer and saw the fireworks show, I kind of had to sit down and wait for a couple minutes to it hit me, that, hey, everything's going to be okay. And, the fact I'm doing a normal activity, it just kind of really comforted me a little bit. But again, they've really put time and energy in how they think things through. Now, this is annoying. And again, I can see the cruise ships doing the exact same thing. A lot of Disney restaurants are closed. You can no longer go in and order table service. You have to order in advance. So they have you get your phone, scan that QR code, and order it online. And then you'll sit down at a table and they'll bring the food to you. So this is another one of those contactless options that they're giving people. And I really do see the cruise lines adopting this, where you no longer have your restaurants, and your specialty that you can go to. I think it's all going to kind of get blended in. And speaking of Disney, this is the Jungle Cruise. And if you look at the arrows, I don't know how good you can see this on your screen, but that's where plexiglass is. And that's to keep people separated. So each area is one group of people, whether you're one person or 5. And this is also what's on the buses. So again, if you think about this and how it's going to relate to tourism and the cruise lines, you're going to be waiting a long time to get on a bus or on a boat. Things that used to have a capacity of 50 people now only have 20.
Ship cater. Anne Moore just said ships cater to more mature adults. Do you see this no-sit rule being a discouragement to the cruisers?
Yes.
Well,
yes,
and that's a big thing, especially if you have to sit. So again, I think this was maybe just a knee-jerk reaction to the initial rules, and that's why they said no one can sit. I have seen a couple of smaller vessels where people can sit, but on the big ones, they want you to stand. So I think that when you look at some of the vessels in Alaska and in the Bahamas, you're going to have no other choice but to sit. And at that point, it'll be just like the airlines. They're going to block off a lot of rows so that way you can be socially distanced. And this is Splash Mountain. I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit.
I can't. I wish I could. I love Splash Mountain.
Well, in this one, what they're doing is, again, with social distancing, there's only 3 people on that ride. And that goes back to why you're going to be waiting a long time. They're no longer putting 8 to 10 people, in a ride vehicle. If you're one person, I saw that here today. It was just this kid riding alone. He had the whole raft to himself. So again, I think that as a cruise industry, we've got a lot on our plate to think about because, we're used to packing those tenders in those boats and getting 100 people out at a time. That's not going to be the case anymore. This is a ride queue. And this one would be even more challenging for people because, they do every other row, but now you have these plexiglass stanchions between everybody. It can be a tight squeeze.
Wow.
And so this is a picture of the Aerosmith
Rock and Roller
Coaster.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love playing the music when you go on that. It's a great ride.
Yeah. Well, now you no longer get to see a show. You kind of walk straight through. And that's the other thing Disney has had to do is they've had to alter the rides. So like Rock and Roller Coaster, you walk straight through now. Same thing with Haunted Mansion. You no longer have the ride elements.
What? Wait a minute. What? Back up. Haunted Mansion. Yep. I know it. I know every nuance. I know every face in the Haunted Mansion. Mm-hmm. Are you telling me that the cars with the thing over me, they're gone?
Oh no, those still there. But when you come in, the sinking room, you no longer sink. You walk right through.
Oh, there is no sinking room.
Yeah, or the sinking room. You just walk straight through it.
Wow, and this is the parade.
Yeah, no more. Well, they have to have parades. You can no longer have a character experience. You can no longer sit with Mickey. That was a big thing about Christmas time. That was just in the paper. You can no longer get near the characters, so they now put them on these little floats and run them around. So now even children, they're not going to have the same level of
immersion.
What's what I'm looking for? Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, it's much different, than before.
Yeah.
Soaring. Well, this is at right outside of Spaceship Earth. Any element that you touch is no longer there. So all these exhibits and all these games that they used to have are gone. So now when you walk out, it feels very sterile, very bland. Soarin', which is popular, on both coasts, both California, Disneyland, and here. You no longer get the spurts of air and smell and odor. It's just you're hanging there and flying. You know, it definitely didn't feel the same.
Wow.
So this is here at SeaWorld. And again, this is going to, I think, you know, as cruisers, we need to pay attention to this. They're now blocking off every other row, and then they're putting in social distance markers. So that way you know how far you have to be from somebody else. You know, capacity is really limited. So I think that when we start to get into cruising, it's going to really change. So yeah, I mean, here's the Orca Show. You can see everyone kind of spread out. This was actually 2 days ago. Some friends are in town, so we decided to go watch it. Yeah, and it's a much different experience. You know, they try to organize it where they only let certain rows out at a time. You know, most of the time people oblige. You know, it is nice not having someone sit in front of you. So I think the next picture, you can see that, you know, you're not, you know, your knees not jabbing the back of someone, or, you know, you're not getting jabbed from someone.
I'm glad to see that the whales are 6 feet apart.
Yeah, that too. You don't want orcas getting COVID.
You certainly don't. And just a few
now
more
this
photos
is
here.
all right. Now this is actually the Beer Garden restaurant, which is a buffet. No more. They have it completely shut off, and I think this is what we may end up seeing on the cruise ships in terms of buffets. It's all served family style now, and they have a set menu, so you can no longer pick, hey, you know, I want the schnitzel, or I want the meatballs or the chicken. They just give it to you in a flat platter, and they'll give you more, which is nice. So I think the next slide. Oh, and that's like the restaurant, how dead it is inside. They're only letting in, I think, about 25 people at a time versus, you know, 400. They're still doing the show, which is kind of cool. This is in the SeaWorld Lounge. You know, again, I think they do spacing a little bit better than Disney. You know, again, there aren't as many people, so they can actually do it.
That's the last photo.
You know, when you look at this, though, SeaWorld was operating practically in a bankruptcy state before, when it was full of people. So you can't, you know, there's no way that 25 in the Bavarian restaurant versus 400 is anywhere close to sustainable.
Oh yeah, and prices are going up. I mean, and I think it's going to be the same thing with cruises. You know, the days of $250 booze cruises out of Miami are done.
Gone. Just,
you know, there's no way.
$250 a day. That's that's going to be the new standard.
Yeah, I mean, forget free at sea and all these promotions we used to get. I mean, there's going to be nothing now because they're going to be capacity controlled. I think it's going to be more of a hotel resort type environment where, you know, the buffets I think are definitely going to be altered. You know, it's either going to be like a grab and go or someone serving you. And I think it's going to change, again, how we do business. And I think that's going to be the most disappointing thing is, you know, I was telling my friend, you know, who's up here now, I said, you know, I'm going to miss going down to Sorrento's at 2 a.m., you know, and getting pizza. You know, I think those days are done.
It's gone.
I think the days of some of the artsy food we get on Celebrity and Princess are over with. You know, even Disney's got to reinvent their cruise ship. You know, why spend $4,000 to go dine with, you know, Mickey and Minnie if you can't even get near them?
Yeah. I mean, I have a slightly brighter future in my mind, Nate. Maybe I'm just being optimistic and unrealistic here. But I mean, I know that here in the UK, for instance, they're coming up now. Yeah, they're coming up with this testing, this saliva testing, where you're talking about, they're going to test it this week. Where you're talking about, it's a saliva test, very, very easily done. Yeah. Then you walk away and it's on the app. Yeah. And within a couple of minutes, they will tell you whether you are clear or not. You're talking about, at the moment, they think it could be 98%, 99% accurate. So what they're talking about is rolling it out in the UK in these mobile test ones very quickly. And if it works, already cruise lines, airports, theaters, venues are really interested because, for instance, where you are in SeaWorld, imagine if you had the saliva test working and you do it, you walk away, then the app goes, you're clear, then you can walk in. Then I would feel so much safer in SeaWorld walking around, and I would hope that maybe you wouldn't need to social distance as much.
But Pete, let me give it to you another way. So 7,000 people in SeaWorld, and the test is 99% accurate.
Yeah.
That means that there's 70 people walking around SeaWorld that are positive today. You want to play?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is the issue. But yeah, I would do. I would take the 90%, 99%, to be honest with you, John, to give me hope. Yeah, it's not 100%. I agree with that.
But I don't think that the places, I don't think the places will, because that's still going to put them, when people have that false sense of it's okay, they're going to start touching each other. They're going to start getting closer again because, oh, we're safe. We got tested this morning, and it's going to take one outbreak and we're going to be back in a, and I'm sorry to be the glass half empty guy, but I don't think 99% is close enough yet. That's not.
And don't forget, we saw that in Juneau this summer with Uncruise. You know, Uncruise was the only cruise line to try operating in the United States this year, and they had a customer who tested positive, and it was a false positive, but yet they still turned the ship around. You know, so I think that everyone, I think the rapid test will make people a little bit more at ease and maybe get more people in the park. But I'm not sure if I see social distancing going away quickly. I think that we're going to have a reduced capacity for a little while now.
But you're happy, again, Nate, you're happy to travel for the moment, aren't you? You're happy to go to these theme parks. You're happy to do that. Yeah, without even that.
Yeah, well, you got to be safe and smart. You know, you got to look at a bar and a restaurant and go, you know, is it safe for me to be here? You know, like, you know, as they're setting up, you know, if you look behind me, I mean, this restaurant that I'm at is fairly empty. So I'd have no problem coming here versus, you know, some of these bars. I know there's one further down that's a little bit more busy. I think that people need to be alert and aware that, you know, if there's a long line, don't stand in line. You know, and if it's busy, maybe come back at a different time. So I think that that's why everyone's watching Orlando, because Orlando was the first to open. Orlando was the first to try some of these ideas out to say, hey, can we do this and do it safely? And, you know, right now, like I said, with the cruise ships, you know, MSC, and I think there's a Norwegian line, I think, or a Danish line that's operating. Yeah.
Costa.
Oh, Costa's doing it. Okay. You know, someone's got to be the guinea pig. And that's kind of why, like here at SeaWorld, I'm a lot more comfortable than, let's say, Disney. You know, just because here they have more signs out there in different languages. You know, the people telling you and pointing, you know, cover your nose.
Are you still able, I mean, SeaWorld, Disney, I just love those theme parks, I really do. Are you able to still enjoy the experience? That's what I want to know.
It is. Yeah, it's not the same as before, you know, because you have that interaction with the characters and with the people. You know, you're missing a lot of families, and I think that's a big thing is, you know, there's still some issues with groups and family reunions coming together. And so you don't have, you know, 40, 50 people showing up in a bus. You know, that's still kind of on the down low. So overall, the experience has been good. You know, like I said, today, while I'm doing this interview, my friend's riding the roller coasters, and, you know, he texted me and he's already been on one 4 times, you know, whereas last year we maybe did 4 all day. So
is this really helping you? Because when you go back to Alaska and with your company and setting up your business again and hoping to get hopefully a good year next year with hopefully not so much rain, Nate, you know, as you had this year, maybe it rained the right year for you, to be honest with you, you know. So I mean, have you learned a lot from this for yourself and your company and for Alaska, your tours?
Yeah, well, and a lot of it's understanding people's comfort levels. You know, it's realizing that even though I'm fine coming here to Disney, I have friends who would never step foot, you know, in an airplane right now. I have friends who think I'm insane for coming here. I'm on COVID test 11. You know, luckily testing is widely available and free here. You know, and you got to be smart about it. But with my business, it's opened my eyes to where now I'm asking vendors, you know, like in Skagway and Whitehorse, you know, when the border opens, you know, what are your policies? You know, how are you handling this? Can you send me a picture of your bus? Can you send me a picture of the interiors? So that way, if people do ask, you know, how do you handle seating? How do we handle, you know, fishing? It's really opened our eyes. You know, it's now we have to think about being more clean and having that ability to offer distance from people. So luckily for my business, everything's remote. You know, the phones can be answered from anywhere. You know, right now we're just selling overnights, car rentals and hotels in Seattle and Anchorage, mainly for, you know, whether you're a tourist or an Alaskan who wants to get away. We get that people aren't ready to come up in the winter. So we're not offering like our Northern Lights expeditions or, 5 days in igloos or the yurts near Fairbanks if you want to see the Northern Lights. So we're not, from a business, I have to be smart about what I offer, because someone could eventually sue me and say, hey, you sent me here and we got sick. So I got to make sure that we're covered from a liability perspective and that we've crossed all of our T's and dotted our I's to make sure that what we're doing is safe.
As the owner of a company, doing tour excursions and things, in Alaska, are you getting enough help, with from the government? No. Are you getting enough help to survive?
Oh, the government's been good. We've had some issues getting the grants and the loans, but they're there. I took on a lot more debt than I wanted to, but I'm in better shape than most. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't have a barn with 10 buses. I don't have to feed 15 mechanics. I don't have, I'm fortunate that I don't have a mortgage where I live. There are some businesses that, they don't know how they're going to pay for food next week. So, the help for some is there, for others it isn't. The labor market's a whole different challenge because people get so much money on unemployment right now, or did. They don't want to work. So it's hard for me to offer someone, $14 an hour to answer phones, where even if they're working from home, when they're making, nearly $2,000 or not more from unemployment.
Will prices for your excursions increase, do you think? Margaret's asked.
I've had 2 vendors tell me no, but I've also had about 5 say yes. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, when you go fishing with 6 people, the risk is now more for them, especially if someone cancels. I can't get 60 people on a bus. I can only do 30. So that cost is doubling. Especially with what's happening with the cruise lines. And if you do have to do a Shorex with the cruise line, I can see the Alaska cruise ship season being challenged next year because prices will greatly increase. It's always kind of funny seeing Alaska cruises go for $600-700 in a shoulder season. And I think that's a thing of the past. I think it's going to be a lot more moving forward. So it's not just Shorexes, I think everything. Food cost is going to be more. The workers are going to want more money. The cruise lines haven't been very friendly to their contractors or their workers. A lot of them were stuck on a ship without pay, until they could be repatriated. So I think that even just trying to get staffing back, I think that there's going to be a lot of changes with how they do their contracts and how they pay. So that's not coming out of the bottom line. That's going to come out of our pockets.
Wow. I mean, Nate, tell us. As Alaska, I haven't been to Alaska. I am booked to go to Alaska on a cruise, not next year, the year after. Please tell us. Yeah, I'm hopefully ladies still watching as well. Yeah, might ask a question, but please tell us, if you haven't been to Alaska, why should, when things get better, I want to be positive and happy now. Something to finish with. Please tell us, what are the good things to do in Alaska? Why should we visit Alaska?
It's unlike anywhere else on the earth that you're going to find. Or else you're going to have the access to the glaciers and the wildlife, the people, as well as the food. Look at me. I'm not a slim guy by any means. Alaska gives you a climate. There's a lot of history with it. Baked Alaskan. Well, you don't have too many of those, but yeah. Even the candy is good, but. Alaska is a much different destination for a lot of different reasons. And I think that, between the glaciers and, the fact that, I showed earlier the bears running around and bald eagles, we offer a lot that many destinations can't give you, and, it's the fact that we're not a big Miami. There aren't 15 million people, up there. Our population's barely 800,000. So it gives you a lot, it's a lot more peaceful, a lot more serene.
Barely 800,000.
Barely 800,000.
Barely.
Yeah.
It looks like John's gone there now by the looks of it. Sean's asked if fishing in Alaska good. He said.
Oh my God! Yes.
Oh yeah, and it's if you go with some of the local guys in Ketchikan and Juneau and even Skagway, it's not hard to get a fishing license, and a lot of these places will even box your fish for you and ship it home. So I think in Juneau that cost is right about $60. So if you go and catch a massive 200-pound halibut, they'll fillet it for you and put it on ice and ship it home. Same thing with the salmon. So
just for the halibut.
Yeah.
Real nature, lifestyle, real nature, as Anne says. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Fantastic. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's the thing, you're not being pushed on like here, in Florida, you're being forced on.
Lady has said, if you like fish, Alaska is the best.
It is.
It's very good.
Wow.
It is, but yeah. But I think next year is going to be interesting. Again, we need to see the CDC come out with its guidance. Right now the Norwegian and Royal document, it's a start. Of course, we have our election coming up, and that can also kind of change everything. But we need to get something going. We need to have someone in the U.S. be that that litmus test. Whether it's an overnight to one of the private islands. I know that's one of the restrictions. Which highly limits it. But we need to get something going so that we know. Just like they said earlier, and I think if you want to show that picture again, the media was all saying, "Oh my God, Orlando's going to open. Everyone's going to die. It's going to be this massive cluster." No, the news story. Picture. And
by the way, whoever said that it spreads like a cancer, that's so bizarre because cancer's one of the you cannot catch cancer by it's a bad. That journalist should be shaken, not stirred.
Picture 14, if you have it. But no, that's the headline. They said if Disney and SeaWorld open, everyone's going to die, and it's going to spread like cancer. And if you look at the next, but that's what they're saying about cruise ships, and it's not. We got to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Until we squash that fear, that's what we got to get out there. That's why I've been coming to Florida, with no problem, because Orlando's not the issue. It's Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
And mate, have you got any more trips planned?
Yeah, I do. November is going to Hawaii. That's mostly for work. Again, I've got my testing lined up for that. Luckily, because I work for an airline part-time, I'm exempt from the quarantine, but our policy is you still have to get tested before and after. And then December, I'm coming back here, hopefully the Bahamas, if they're open. I'm not going to sit back and wait. I really enjoyed coming here this summer with nobody here. And it just blew my mind because you watch the news and they all said, don't come to Florida. It's horrible. There's COVID everywhere. And the numbers don't support that. So I ask people, please do your research.
Have you been in the Red Dog Saloon, Nate?
Oh my God, no. I've lived in Juneau for 11 years, and it's been because of the cruise ship season. We get 25,000 people a day, so trying to get down there is not easy. But they did open this year. Red Dog Saloon opened, the hangar on the wharf opened, Tracy's Crab Shack. So we tried. We really did do what we could for the independent traveler, but without the cruise ships, we're dead. A lot of people in the Southeast don't want to admit that, but unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure to handle like Anchorage and Fairbanks does for the independent traveler. We are very much a cruise traffic and a cruise market.
Wow.
Well, Nate, again, it's about time to wrap us up.
Yep.
I can't thank you enough for another wonderful visit, sharing your travel experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, yeah.
That's just been fabulous.
Yeah, well, and I want people to know the truth. See it from people who are actually doing it. Don't listen to these experts on TV who probably have never left their condo.
Yeah.
Cheers, Nate. We'll let you get back on the rides now, yeah?
Good deal.
You get back on Manta, and make sure if you go on Manta, you go on the back, yeah? Because that's the best place to be, I promise you.
I will.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for another episode of the Cruise Amigos live from London. Again, Nate, thank you very much. Pete and John, we'll see you guys next time. Everybody, thanks for being with us. And this is Chili from here in Virginia. We'll see you the next time on the Cruise Amigos Live.
Cheers, guys. Bye, everybody. Bye.